There is a unique kind of trauma that comes with being the oldest sibling in a world that wants you dead. From the moment we meet Vi in Arcane, she is established not just as a fighter, but as an anchor. In the brutal, unforgiving environment of Zaun, survival isn't just about resourcefulness, it's about stability. And for Vi, stability meant keeping the people she loved exactly as they were. We often praise characters who protect others. We see them as selfless heroes, but Arcane's writing is far too nuanced for simple heroism. If you look closely at Vi's behavioral patterns across both seasons, you realize her greatest strength is also her most toxic flaw. Vi is terrified of change. To Vi, change is a threat. If the people she loves change, it means she can no longer protect them. And when she loses that control, she doesn't just break down, she lashes out. Today, let's look at Vi's character arc through a slightly different lens, not as the heroic brawler, but as a deeply traumatized young woman who tried to freeze the world in place to keep it safe, and the tragic moment she realized that to save herself, she had to let that control go. But to dive deeper, we'll be entering spoiler territory, so consider this a warning. To understand why Vi fights so hard against the natural evolution of the people around her, we have to look at her blueprint. After losing her parents on the bridge, Vi's childhood ended. Vander took them in, but Vi immediately adopted the role of the secondary caretaker. In her mind, Powder, Milo, and Clagger's survival was her direct responsibility. Notice how Vi manages her crew in Act 1. When Milo criticizes Powder, Vi doesn't just defend Powder, she shuts the conversation down. She creates a protective bubble around Powder, treating her like a fragile object that must remain preserved. To Vi, as long as Powder stays her sweet, innocent little sister who looks up to her, the world makes sense. But this creates a dangerous dynamic. Vi doesn't allow Powder space to fail or grow naturally. She enforces a static reality. When Vander tries to teach Vi that violence isn't the answer, Vi rejects it because Vander's peaceful approach feels like a shift in the status quo. It feels like a loss of the aggressive control she believes they need to survive. The true tragedy of Vi's character begins when her frozen reality shatters. In the warehouse, Powder changes the script. She doesn't stay in the room like Vi told her to. She tries to help, and in doing so, she accidentally kills their family. This is the pivotal moment where Vi's coping mechanism turns violent. When confronted with the reality that Powder is no longer just the innocent child who needs protection, but someone capable of causing immense destruction, Vi cannot process it. Her immediate reaction to this unwanted change isn't comfort, it's physical and emotional assault. She strikes Powder. She calls her a jinx. People often view Vi leaving Powder here as a tragic accident because Marcus kidnapped her. But psychologically, Vi walked away before she was captured. She turned her back on Powder because the version of Powder standing in front of her, the one covered in the ash of their dead brothers, was a version Vi refused to accept. By walking away, Vi was trying to reject a reality she couldn't control. When Vi is released from Stillwater Prison years later, her mind is still trapped in that warehouse. She has spent years in a dark cell, keeping herself alive by replaying a specific memory, the memory of her sweet, blue-haired little sister. Look at how Vi interacts with Jinx throughout the rest of the series. It's painful to watch because Vi is entirely blind to the person standing in front of her. Caitlin sees a dangerous, politically radicalized anarchist. Silco sees a brilliant, chaotic weapon. But Vi only sees a scared little girl who lost her way. Every time Jinx shows signs of her new identity, the twitching, the talking to herself, the casual violence, Vi desperately tries to talk her out of it. She says things like, "This isn't you," or "Silco changed you." But the harsh truth that Vi refuses to acknowledge is that this is Jinx now. Traumas, time, and abandonment changed her. But because Vi cannot control this new version of her sister, she attempts to forcefully overwrite Jinx's identity with the ghost of Powder. And when that fails, the narrative forces Vi into a corner where her desire to protect changes into something much darker, and that is where Vi's arc takes its most devastating turn. In trying to force the world to stay the same, she becomes the very monster she was trying to protect her family from. When someone's entire identity is built around being a protector and they are stripped of that role, They experience an existential crisis. Throughout Act 2 and 3, Vi is constantly denied the control she craves. She can't get through to Jinx. She can't convince the council. She can't even make Silco back down. So, what does a brawler do when verbal control fails? She doubles down on physical control. Look at her partnership with Jace and her acquisition of the Atlas gauntlets. Those gauntlets aren't just weapons. They are a psychological manifestation of Vi's desperation. They are massive, heavy, and designed to forcefully reshape her environment. If she can't talk Powder back into existence, she will literally smash down every wall between them until she forces reality to bend to her will. But this is exactly where Vi's hypocrisy bleeds through. She hates that Jinx has changed, yet Vi herself is changing into an enforcer-adjacent weapon for Piltover, the very empire that killed her parents. She is willing to hurt the people of Zon, the people she used to protect, just to get to her sister. Vi has become so blinded by her desire to freeze the past that she doesn't care who she breaks in the present. This brings us to one of the most brilliant, visually storytelling-driven moments in Arcane's later acts, the alteration of Vi's face tattoo. For the longest time, that tattoo wasn't just a nickname, it was a manifesto. It stood for Vi, the girl from the lanes, the undefeated fighter, the older sister who carries the weight of the world on her shoulders. It was her brand of ownership over her role as the ultimate protector. But you can only fight reality for so long before you break. Striking through or altering that tattoo is the exact moment Vi's psychological armor shatters. It is an admission of defeat, but also a moment of profound liberation. When Vi's name is crossed out, it's the story's way of saying, the girl who could keep everyone safe is dead. The girl who thought she could stop the world from turning is gone. She finally stops trying to control the narrative. She realizes that her desperate grip wasn't keeping her family safe, it was suffocating them. It's a tragic realization because it means accepting that Powder is truly gone, and Jinx is a reality she cannot fix. By relinquishing her control over others, Vi is finally forced to do the one thing she avoided for years, face herself. A common misconception about protectors in media is that their story ends when they successfully save everyone. But Arcane reminds us of a harsher truth. Sometimes the most heroic thing a protector can do is stop fighting the change. Vi spent her entire youth trying to be an immovable object in a world of unstoppable forces. She hurt people, she denied reality, and she nearly destroyed herself trying to keep a broken family from changing shape. In the end, she didn't save Powder. She couldn't stop the war between Piltover and Zon, but by letting go of the need to control how everyone else evolved, Vi finally allowed herself to grow. She traded the heavy, exhausting illusion of being everyone's anchor for the painful reality of being just a human being. It's a bittersweet ending to her arc. She lost the world she was trying to protect, but she finally found the freedom to live in the one that remained. And if you ask me, I think that's whack.